So today we're going to continue practicing looking at the dialogue from lesson 10 of our course. Lesson 10, conversation 3. And this is you and your friend Bob trying to create a story for a show or a movie. And Bob is trying to help you with ideas. And all of your ideas are a little bit boring, not too exciting. And Bob is trying to make your ideas a little more exciting. So today what we're going to do is going to continue reading through this, talk about some stress, intonation, and some linking. 连音. Linking is where the words stick together, and we're going to work on our pronunciation and reading. We're not going to go over too much of the content. If you want to know what Lesson 10, Conversation 3 is about, go to the course, and there are lessons that explain the grammar, the vocabulary, and everything else inside, right? So let's review what we did last week, and then we can keep moving forward. So it starts with, "Hey Bob, some guy told me I know nothing about acting. How can I make a movie if I don't understand the characters in my story?" Bob says, "Your ideas are usually pretty run-of-the-mill, but don't worry, we can workshop ideas with each other." You say, "The characters I've written are all too flat. My characters need more depth and character development." Bob says, "Let's go over them one after another. Each one should have a backstory." You say, "The other day, I thought of two guys. One is a truck driver, and the other works at 7-Eleven. That's all I got so far." Yawn. Jazz it up a little. Make one a space trucker and the other a clerk at a space 7-Eleven. Okay, so could you hear how my voice goes up and down and the letters stick together? Like jazz it up a little. So we're going to continue doing some of this, practicing with what's next in the story. Okay? So I'll read it normal, then slowly, then we can talk about the pronunciation. "How do they know each other? They should have relationships with one another." So, how do they know each other? How do they know each other? So, like before, how do they... These three are all kind of separate. You don't need to link them together. How do they... Then stress the word know. That's a little skinny. So stress the word know. How do they know each other? How do they know each other? And we said before that each other, the CH from each sticks to other. I still think we should put this in the dictionary as one word, each other, but it's still two words, each other. Okay? They should have relationships with one another. Okay. They should have these two words. It's should have, but the D sound is very, very soft. You don't even really hear it. Should have. Actually, sorry. The D goes on have. Should have. Should have. There's like, again, a little bit of a flap sound. Your tongue hits the roof of your mouth. Should have. So the should have. should have. If you say it quickly, it ends up being should have. Oh, sorry, no, that's wrong. I'm going crazy. My brain is still a little bit messed up from COVID, I think. Sorry. I'm feeling better, but my brain is broken. They should have relationships. So in the word relationship, the lay is stronger. Relationships. They should have relationships with one another. One another. Really? With one another. There's this N and then another. One another. We read it like N-A. One another. That's very small. That's still very small. Okay. So how do they know each other? They should have relationships with one another. So quickly. How do they know each other? They should have relationships with one another. So the really important words like relationships, you want to say stronger. Okay? Keep going. They're buddies who meet for brunch and talk about the weather every other day. I like to keep it mellow. Sorry, I like to keep it mellow. So, they're buddies who meet for brunch. So, remember, T-H-E-Y-R-E sounds exactly the same as T-H-E-R-E, there. So, don't say they are, say they're. They're buddies. This is a really common thing. So, Americans, when they're writing, sometimes will mix up the words T-H-E-R-E, T-H-E-Y-R-E, and T-H-E-I-R. T-H-E-R. There. These three words, a lot of Americans, when they're spelling, will make... Oh, you can't see that. A lot of Americans, when they're spelling, will mess up these three words. There, and there. Because we say them exactly the same. So some people will forget how to spell them, or will write the wrong word when they're writing. Hopefully, you will learn not to do that. And it's pretty bad if someone does that, but it's pretty common. It's surprisingly common that people mess up these three words, but they sound exactly the same. There. So in our dialogue here, they're buddies. So don't say they are, say they're. They're buddies. They're buddies who meet for brunch and talk about the weather every other day. So most of these words don't really stick together. There's not much linking here, but we have talk about. So the in about usually takes a letter from before. Talk about. Okay? Talk about. So they're buddies who meet for brunch and talk about the weather every other day. Every other day. So the Y and the O stick together. Every other day. Every other day. So, talk about and then every other. So those are the words that link together. Now what about stress? They're buddies who meet for brunch and talk about the weather every other day. Did you hear it? They're buddies, stress that, who meet for brunch and talk about the weather every other day. So these are the words that are important for someone to understand so we can say them a little stronger. They're buddies who meet for brunch and talk about the weather every other day. You can hear each word is a little bit harder because it's an important word. And then I like to keep it mellow. Could you hear any linking? I like to keep it mellow. Keep it. The P and the I stick together. Keep it. And this is a pretty common, these two words go together a lot. So don't say keep it. Say keep it. Keep it. I like to keep it mellow. So I like to keep it mellow. You can hear my voice goes up on keep and then down on mellow. Keep it mellow. Okay? And again, leave me questions if you need help with something. Okay, keep going. Snore. You're putting me to sleep. You should make them eat. Excuse me. You're putting me to sleep. You should make them each other's nemesis. So, snore. Snore is the sound you make when you sleep. Shh, shh. But if you want to show that you're bored, you could say snore to a person. Snore. Or yawn, which we did before. Snore. You're putting me to sleep. You're putting me to sleep. There's no real linking in here, but which words are stressed? You're putting me to sleep. You're putting me to sleep. We stress the putting. You're putting me to sleep. And sleep is stronger too, because that's important. Now, can you hear the way I'm saying this first word? You might say you are, but no, there's an apostrophe again. So it becomes you're putting me to sleep. But when people speak quickly, it starts to sound like you're. So if you want to sound more natural, what is that? If you want to sound a little more natural, don't say your, say you're. You're putting me to sleep. You're putting me to sleep. Another thing, the T-O. Oh, I'm grabbing the background, that's why. So your sounds like you're, and then T-O sounds like t. You're putting me to sleep. You're putting me to sleep. You're putting me to sleep. You don't need to say your, and you don't need to say to. You can say you're putting me to sleep. It sounds faster and smoother and more natural. Okay? And then next Bob says, you should make them each other's nemesis. You should make them each other's nemesis. The two strongest words here are you should make them each other's nemesis, because those are the important words, the verb and the object, right? You should make them each other's nemesis. Not too hard here. The key is each other's. Again, we keep on coming back to this one. Each other. The CH goes on to the word other. So don't say each other. You want to say each other. It sounds better. Almost like it's spelled like this. Each other. That's what it sounds like. Okay? Keep going. Check my... 1 second. Okay. Keep going. Is there any conflict? Do they butt heads? So, is there any conflict? Do they butt heads? This is pretty straightforward. Not too hard. But, is there any conflict? So you go up at the end because it's a question. Do they butt heads? And then butt heads, you go up again. Remember, butt heads means the two people are hitting their heads together, which means they're arguing or fighting. Okay? And then you say, at their lunch, they argue because some of their dishes are too sweet and others are too salty. What a boring conflict. So at their lunch, you go up a little bit because you're not finished at their lunch. They argue because some of their dishes are too sweet and others are too salty. So at their lunch, they argue, say argue stronger, because some of their dishes is more important than some of, right? Some of their dishes are too sweet. Too sweet. I'd say too stronger and then sweet down a little bit. Too sweet. And others are too salty. Same thing. Too salty. Go down a little bit. Let's see. Is there any linking here? At their lunch, they argue. They argue. Here the Y and the A kind of go together. They argue. Yargue. They argue. Okay? Because some of their dishes, can you hear it? Because some, the S from because goes on to some. Because some, they end up being one S sound. So because some of their dishes are too sweet and others are too salty. One thing is here, this T kind of turns into a stop. There's not a T sound. Some are too sweet and others are too salty. Okay? I would stop there, sweet, instead of linking it with and, because sweet is kind of that strong word. Too sweet and others are too salty. Okay? Then Bob says, come on, that's mind-numbingly boring. What if they've poisoned one another's drinks? So, come on. This is something you say when you're kind of annoyed with someone. Come on. And so the M sticks to the end. So it's like, come on. So it's almost like two M's are in there. Come on. Come on. Don't stop the M, just keep it going. Come on. And if somebody's being annoying, you go, oh, come on. And then Bob says, that's mind-numbingly boring. Mind-numbingly boring. This is really a long adjective, or adverb, sorry. This is a long adverb. Mind-numbingly. But it's kind of a fun one. It's another way to say ridiculously or insanely. Ridiculously. That's ridiculously boring. That's mind-numbingly boring. It's so boring it makes your brain numb. No feeling. Okay? So that's mind-numbing. Oh, you can hear it there. Mind-numbingly. So M-I-N-D, numbing, mind-numbing. There's almost just one N sound there. Mind-numbing. So mind-numbing. Oh, and like no B sound too. Not blah. So M-I, it sounds like, I'll write it out. Mind-numbing. And those N's and M's stick together. Just make sure you can see clearly. So, mind-numbing. Mind-numbing. That's mind-numbingly boring. Whew, that's a tricky word, right? But it's a fun one, I think. So what if they've poisoned one another's drinks. This is a common one. What if? The T sounds almost like a D. It's a flap. Your tongue hits the roof of your mouth. What if? What if? What if? It's almost like what-if, but a little bit softer. What if? What if they've poisoned one another's drinks? The other thing, again, is one another. One another's drinks. So let's read it one more time. What if they've poisoned one another's drinks? So the stress is on poisoned and drinks. What if they've poisoned one another's drinks? So you only have to go up a little bit at the end for this one. Because if you hear what at the beginning, it makes it clear that it's a question. Right? And then keep going. I don't know, Bob. I don't know, Bob. I feel like every other movie has murder as the character's motivation. That's kind of cliche. So, I don't know, Bob. I don't know, Bob. So, this T disappears. I don't know. So, when we say it, I don't know is what it kind of sounds like. I don't know. We don't usually write this. That's just what it sounds like. Sometimes people will say it even faster and say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But a regular speed, I don't know, will sound like I don't know. Okay? I don't know, Bob. I feel like every other movie has murder as the character's motivation. I feel like there's only one L sound there. Feel like. Feel like. Just take that L and make it longer. I feel like every other movie, the Y from that goes to other, every other movie has murder as the character's motivation. So the rest is not so hard. I feel like every other movie, stress movie, has murder as the character's motivation. Motivation. Say that part stronger. Okay? So I feel like every other movie has murder as the character's motivation. That's kind of cliche. That's kind of. This sounds like D-U-V, dove. It's kind of cliche, meaning I feel like I've seen that a million times. Okay? Let's see. Let's keep going. How much more do we have? Not too bad. Maybe we can, well, we'll see how we do. Maybe we can finish it. Maybe we can see how long we want to go. Okay, keep going. Characters need to have flaws if you want character development. Everybody loves a redemption arc. This doesn't really have much linking, but the stress. Characters need to have flaws if you want character development. So characters need to have flaws. Say flaws stronger, because that's an important word if you want character development. Here, I would say character stronger because character development, these two words go together. You start strong and then get a little bit weaker. Character development. So hit the first syllable stronger. Characters need to have flaws if you want character development. There is a little bit of linking here. Characters need to. So it's like need to. You make a D shape and then go straight into to. Need to. Characters need to have flaws. if you. Can you hear that? If you. It sounds like if you. Well, not I few, but if you. If you. So characters need to have flaws if you want character development. Does that make sense? Everybody loves a redemption arc. And same thing with the stress, redemption arc. So stress this word redemption. Arc you can say lightly or go down, and you don't need to say it super strong. Everybody loves a redemption arc. So everybody loves a redemption arc. Okay? And then you go on and say, one after the other, your suggestions are a little too wild for me. I'm a more meat and potatoes kind of guy. So one after the other. One after the other. So one after. The N from one goes on to after. One after the other. The other. It's almost like there's a Y sound there. The other. One after the other. One after the other. Your suggestions are a little too wild for me. Like we said before, you don't need to say your, you can say your. Your suggestions. Okay, there. Your suggestions are a little too wild for me. The only linking here is are. Your suggestions are a little. Can you hear it? Are a little. There's the ra sound in there. Your suggestions are a little too wild for me. I'm a more meat and potatoes kind of guy. Kind of guy. You could hear how we say it quickly right there. So I'm a, this is really common. I'm a. So I'm a more meat and potatoes kind of guy. Kind of guy. It could sound like kind of or kinda. I'm a more meat and potatoes kind of guy. Okay. And then keep on going. Bob's giving all these exciting suggestions, but you want to keep it simple. Sorry, Bob. Maybe we should save the planning for another day. I'm not in the right headspace to come up with exciting ideas today. So sorry, Bob. Sorry, Bob. So maybe we should save the planning for another day. So planning is the strong word. Maybe we should save the planning for another day. Maybe we should save the planning for another day. The only linking here is for another day. Okay? For another day. And then I'm not in the right headspace to come up with exciting ideas today. So I'm not this M and N go close together. I'm not. So close your mouth for M. I'm, and then right away go not. I'm not in the right headspace to come up with exciting ideas today. To come up with. Come up. If you're coming up with something, you're thinking of something. We talked about come on. So come up is the same idea. You make a come up. You hold that M sound. I'm not in the right headspace to come up with exciting ideas today. And then Bob says, no worries. If we stay the course, We'll get there eventually. It's not the end of the world. So no worries. So no worries. You go, no worries. No worries. If we stay the course, it's almost like the F sticks on we. If we stay the course, we'll get there eventually. Another thing to think about for the word we'll. It's not, so if it's separate, it's we will, but when we write it together, it becomes we'll, but usually when we're saying it quickly, it sounds like will. It sounds the same as W-I-L-L. We'll get there eventually. We'll get there eventually. So try to say this word will like W-I-L-L. It sounds the same. We'll get there eventually. We'll get there eventually. Okay? It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. So it's not, the S and the N stick together. It's not, it's not the end. The end. The E pulls from one to the other. The end. It's not the end of the world. Almost like there's a Y. The end. So it's not the end of the world. The end of the world. Again, we have a D and then of. The end of the world. Sounds like dove. So it's not the end of the world. Okay? It's not the end of the world. And then the last but not least, oh, that's an idea. What if Earth explodes in our movie? Dun, dun, dun. So you're not feeling very excited. You don't have many good ideas for your story. But then, last but not least, what if Earth explodes in our movie? Oh my God. So, oh. You could say this many different ways. Just, oh. If you're excited, make that sound. Oh. Okay? That's an idea. So that's an idea. The S from that's sticks to un. So that's an idea. The N goes on to the I in idea. That's an idea. Oh, that's an idea. What if Earth explodes in our movie? So we did this before. What if the TIF sounds like DIF? What if, but it's a really quick sound. What if Earth explodes in our movie? Here, because these two words are quite important to the sentence, you say them kind of separate. What if Earth explodes in our movie? And then you can hear the end, in our movie. The OUR doesn't have to sound like our. It sounds kind of like R. Or like the letter R. So, what if Earth explodes in our movie? Okay? In our movie. So, what do you think about this story? Do you think having Earth explode at the end of the movie is a good idea? I'm not sure. So, that's it for this dialogue. We went through the linking and some of the stress in a lot of the words and sentences. So let's go back and read through it one more time. Try to practice how to say each sentence. How about I'll do one sentence and then you can try to follow and see if you can follow and copy my pronunciation. So I'll do one sentence at a time. Hey, Bob. Some guy told me I know nothing about acting. How can I make a movie if I don't understand the characters in my story? Your ideas are usually pretty run-of-the-mill, but don't worry. We can workshop ideas with each other. The characters I've written are all too flat. My characters need more depth in character development. Oops, too fast. Let's go over them one after another. Each one should have a backstory. The other day, I thought of two guys. One is a truck driver, and the other works at 7-Eleven. That's all I got so far. Oop, the scroll wheel is annoying. Yawn. Jazz it up a little. Make one a space trucker and the other a clerk at Space 7-Eleven. How do they know each other? They should have relationships with one another. They're buddies who meet for brunch and talk about the weather every other day. I like to keep it mellow. Snore! You're putting me to sleep. You should make them each other's nemesis. Is there any conflict? Do they butt heads? At their lunch, they argue because some of their dishes are too sweet and others are too salty. Come on. That's mind-numbingly boring. What if they've poisoned one another's drinks? I don't know, Bob. I feel like every other movie has murder as the character's motivation. That's kind of cliche. Characters need to have flaws if you want character development. Everybody loves a redemption arc. One after the other, your suggestions are a little too wild for me. I'm a more meat and potatoes kind of guy. Sorry, Bob. Maybe we should save the planning for another day. I'm not in the right headspace to come up with exciting ideas today. No worries. If we stay the course, we'll get there eventually. It's not the end of the world. Oh, that's an idea. What if Earth explodes in our movie? Okay, good job. Did you follow along? Did you practice your speaking? Hopefully this was helpful. You could see the lines where the letters are supposed to connect. You could hear me say things like end of the world. And good job. I hope you were following along and repeating after me. So that's it for today. We finished lesson 10, conversation 3 from our course. And that's all of the pronunciation and linking practice for today. I hope you learned something new. I hope this was helpful. And I hope it was a little bit fun. So this dialogue is from our course, lesson 10, conversation 3. If you would like to see explanations of the vocabulary and the idioms and the phrases in there, make sure to go back to our course and review what we learned before. Okay? So I think we can stop here for today. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you had a good time. I hope you got some good speaking practice. And thank you so much for joining. Again, if you were following the fall guided learning program and you finished it, congratulations, good job. And I'll still be here for the live stream, so you're more than welcome to join me and do some other practice and learning together. Okay? So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.